Hi, lovely ladies and gentlemen of the Aligned to Your Health group. How are you doing? Okay, I think that's good. I'm on my tablet, so sometimes it doesn't always position itself. There we go. Center screen. Kind of. There we go. So how are y'all doing? Let me just check and make sure you're in the group. I'm in the group because there's been some stuff. Whoever's coming on live, please say hashtag live, and that will help others see the video, and Facebook will also send out notifications so that more people can see it and all that kind of fun stuff. And I also get to say hi to you, which is really lovely. Hi Joe, how are you? How are things going? Okay, live, yay! Someone else is joining us live. Who else is joining us live? Hashtag live. Christopher Hunter. Hi Christopher, how are you? And if you're watching the replay, you can hashtag mind chatter. How's that? Still waiting for the operation. Oh, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Well, we need to shift the energy around that, right, Joe? Hi, Pam. How are you, lovely? Thanks for joining us. So I'll go on a little tangent. I'll give us a couple minutes for others to come on because I know there was a bunch of them. So when we have things that aren't working out for us, we focus on the fact that it's not working out for us. And I use the universal laws, and it's like begets like. The thought that you're frustrated and you're maybe a little angry because you're not getting the schedule for the surgery is going to attract that you're not going to get the schedule for the surgery. We're doing it to ourselves. Not good. So we want to shift that, and we can shift that just by using your imagination. And you're going to envision the fact that you're getting a phone call, and you're going to hear the phone ringing, and you're going to get excited because you actually got a booked call, and then you're going to be hopeful for the fact that the surgery is going to go well, it's going to be smooth and sailing, and by the end of the surgery you're going to feel so much better. And because at the end of the surgery you feel so much better, your energy shifts, your life shifts. Now you're attracting more positive things, and things seem to be working out for you, and you go into that spiral, that positive what if, instead of staying in the it's not working, I'm not getting a phone call, that means that this is going to go on longer, and then all the story that we start to create from that. Good to see you too, Pam. So we want to pay attention to everything that we think, we say, and we do. So this actually blends in well with the mind chatter. So mind chatter. How many of you have it? Say me. I don't have it as much anymore because I've healed a lot of that mind chatter that used to go like crazy in my head. Yeah. Christopher's got mind chatter. Joe has mind chatter. Yeah. Pam probably not, or not as much as she used to as well, because she does a lot of this work also. So what can happen is that the mind will go. We have two choices. Now, I follow Abraham and Hicks, so you take what you want, and what you don't want, you leave the rest. Abraham and Hicks will tell you that it's 17 seconds for you to shift your thought from a negative feeling thought to a positive feeling thought. And if after that 17 seconds it doesn't shift, you have 64 total seconds before you just got to let it go into a negative momentum downward. So why is that? Because that first 17 seconds will cause another thought. So we get to choose. Is that next thought going to be a positive thought or a negative thought? Usually we've been trained to make a negative thought. And so we want to pay attention. We just want to get curious. There's no judgment, there's no criticism, there's no berating yourself because you didn't do it, and first couple times you're not going to catch it, and it's okay. This is something that you have to practice over time and create that habit. And habits, we know, take, my understanding now, it's 45 days. Hi Lizzie, how are you, lovely? So hi Stephanie, how are you? Choice is very fundamental to life. Amen to that. And not enough of us make choices. We do, but it's by default. And I had a live that I did last 2 weeks ago maybe, called Live by Design or by Default. So we want to know that we actually are creators of our lives. We are actually manifesting what is in our outside worlds. We need to heal the inside and get that right, and then all of a sudden our lives going to change, and it's going to shift, and it's going to be a beautiful experience. It's going to still have ups and downs because we deal with other human beings that aren't always going to comply. And it can be better. So we're going to learn that we don't have to constantly fight people. We don't have to constantly be in our out of our power with people and or the mind chatter. The mind chatter can take us out of our power in a big way. Stephanie's saying the word choice is her new tattoo because of all you were saying. Awesome. Awesome. So we want to make everything we do a choice. So if you want to get angry at somebody, fine. Choose it. Own it. Take responsibility for it. Who you are going to be in that moment is also a choice. Are you going to be mean and ugly and shout and yell, or are you going to try to communicate with the person in the moment? There's a difference. So when I was first just around COVID time, I shifted the group, and the shift in the group went from living to thrive. I can't remember. It's been so long. And so what I was doing was bringing in other coaches. And this one coach said, and it totally enlightened me, that we have a choice between going into what she called the red zone and angry, frustrated, aggravation, mean, nasty, all that kind of stuff. Or we can stay in the green zone, which is love and above. And so when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, what do you mean I don't have to argue back? What do you mean I don't have to justify and explain and try to get them to see my side? What do you mean? That's everything I've ever seen and experienced my entire life. My parents argued all the time. So I thought that was normal. And that I didn't have a choice because I had to defend myself. And the truth is you're out of your personal power when you do that. So there was an argument I was having with my ex. And I was so exhausted from all the arguments we've been having because things went from bad to worse. And so he amped up his narcissism and the arguments. And I decided after that last argument that I was no longer going to justify, explain, or try to get him to see my side, because A, he's never going to see it. B, it was exhausting me. C, I didn't like who I was and who I was being in that moment. So that is when I stepped into my personal power, because he could feel the energy. So there was another argument that he was trying to get a rise out of me for, and I just looked at him and he knew. I'm 5'2", he's 6'2". He is probably anywhere between 250 and 300 pounds, and I'm 160 pounds. So there's a huge difference. And I was able to stand in my power so strongly and in my energy that he actually took a step back and he said, "Don't you hit me." And I had no intention of hitting him, but he knew he crossed the line. So we've got to pay attention, not just to other people and places and circumstances outside of us. We have to take responsibility for us too. Who are we being? What are we allowing ourselves to think? What are we allowing ourselves to feel? What are we allowing ourselves to say? So I follow a coach, and she had a great explanation of this. So we have an emotion, and the emotion could be anger, hate, fear, worry, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, whatever, right? Then we have a thought behind that, and it's usually a subconscious thought, so it can be really deep rooted and we're not even aware of it. So this is where the mind chatter comes in. This is why we want to pay attention to what our mind is saying to us, because it's going to give us clues with why we are where we are, because people are mirrors for us. It's always an opportunity for us to heal more. So if someone says to you, "Tina, your hair is so brown, it's ugly." Well, they're wrong, right? So obviously my hair's not brown, and I think I have really lovely hair. So I don't question that. But if someone said to me, "Tina, you're the worst person in the world and you deserve everything you get," and they say it with vehemence and belief and conviction, then because I've done the healing, I'm going to not take that. And I'll say, "Okay, well, that's your opinion. Thanks for sharing it with me," and go on about my day. But if I have a subconscious thought that what they're saying is true, that's when it's going to actually bother me, because I actually believe what they're saying. I hope this is making sense. So we want to pay attention to what affects us, what triggers us, what patterns are going on in our lives, because I kept saying to my ex, like, I'm so exhausted. We keep going through this argument over and over and over again. And when I wasn't doing this work, I didn't know what to do. Doing this work, I now know what to do. And patterns are really big that we need to pay attention to. So if you're saying the same thing to yourself over and over and over again, you're in this roller coaster ride, you're in this up and down, you're in this loop, this negative loop. And the more you say it, the more you believe it. The more you say it, the more you believe it. The more you say it, the more you believe it. And you can't get out of that loop. Triggers are our teachers. My ex was my biggest teacher. I have grown, I've become stronger, I've become wiser. I'm now in my personal power, and I know how to set boundaries. And I'm not going to tolerate a whole lot of crap because of him. It's sad that it took me 27 years of abuse, emotional and mental, to get there, but I got there. So this is why I share this with you, because I don't want you to take that long. I really don't. So we have a negative emotion. What is the thought behind that negative emotion? Pay attention to the mind chatter. It's telling you what you're thinking. Now, we have 90% of our brain is subconscious, 3% is conscious. And that's why we have to pay attention. So the same coach was saying when she was doing this work is she was saying, shit, like we have no chance at all, because 97% of what's in our subconscious mind is probably negative, because we've been layered and layered and layered with lots of crap over the years. And so we have all these negative beliefs about ourselves, which are untrue. And so the job is to release all those negative layers so that we can be the truth of who we are and who we're meant to be. And so we do the work. So you've got the emotion. What's the thought behind the emotion? Then we want to find out whose voice is that. And sometimes you'll know and sometimes you won't. And if you don't know, man or woman, if you have a sense of it, just write it down. It will come to you at some point. And then once you figure that out, ask yourself, is the belief really true? Because most of our beliefs are not true. That was a mind-blowing awareness for me. What do you mean? Of course it's true. If I believe it, it must be true. No. We were taught it, and it became a repetitive thought. A repetitive thought became a habit, and then it became a belief which got locked into our subconscious mind. Hi, Sylvie. How are you, lovely lady? So we want to really pay attention to the mind chatter, because it will give us the clues that we need to heal and release and let go. So once we do that, then we reframe everything. So what is the truth? I don't feel good enough because I was made to feel that way. So what could you then reframe it as? I am good enough. And if the mind chatter starts and starts saying bullshit, you aren't good enough. Of course you're not good enough. Your mother told you for years that you're not good enough. Your father reinforced it. Your brothers, blah, blah, blah. All the story that's behind all of that, right? So then you want to caveat that and put the phrase, I am willing to believe that I am good enough. I am willing to believe. And if that still feels like a stretch, then you can even say, I'm good. And then eventually you build on that. Because eventually you will feel that way, that you are good enough, and that will heal. So then once we do that kind of work, we want to pay attention to what we're saying. So one of the other coaches that I follow calls it abracadabra. As I say, therefore, I attract magic like that. What are you saying to yourself? What are you saying about other people? What are you saying about your situation and your circumstance? If you're complaining, you're constantly feeling like a victim. Things are happening to you, not for you. Hi, Lincoln. That people are out to get you. The universe sucks. Your life sucks. All that sucks. What are you going to attract? Of course, more things to say that life sucks. It's a given. It's automatic. That's the way the universe works. So we attract the good and the bad. So why not get into the habit of attracting the bad? I said that wrong. Why are we in the habit of attracting the bad? We got to get out of it and shift it out for the good. So then understand also that when we start to do this process, personal development, growth, and we're in this evolving stage, and we're transforming, and we're declaring, and we're making a choice that things are going to be better, and whatever that decision is, the universe is going to say, okay, fine, let's see how solid you are in that. And they might throw something at you. Well, I knew this was going to happen. See? Or we can be grateful for the fact that it happened. We're learning the lesson, and then we're going to try again. So what's the choice? The other thing is that because we're growing and evolving, ego will tell us things to keep us back, because it's the comfort zone. So most of us, we've lived with trauma either in our childhood or somewhere along the way, or a negative experience, and we've been made to feel certain ways because of other people and what they've said to us or did to us, and we can undo it all. That is true. And we've got to become aware that our comfort zone now is trauma, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, whatever it is that we've had that experience with, especially as a child. And so, what does ego want? It's built to protect us, put us in that stress, that fight, flight, and freeze zone. So it wants to keep us where we are comfortable. Doesn't mean it's something we want. It means that the ego is in its comfort zone. Jo says she feels that in the hospital she asked them to stop when they were realigning my wrist, but they didn't stop. They didn't listen. Sorry to hear that, Jo. And Lincoln saying she needed to remind her today. Yay, for real? Excellent. Okay. Stephanie just messaged me telling me I think my live is blippy. Sorry about that. Oh. Okay. Well, I apologize. Pay attention to the words, not the screen. So we want to also then realize, because that's our comfort zone, we want to create a new comfort zone. So my comfort zone was frustration. And when I became aware of that last year, I'm like, oh, damn. Yeah. When I look back at my life, a lot of frustration. And so I made a choice. And the choice was to now move into peace and freedom. And I've had more peace over the last couple of years than I've had probably in my lifetime. Because I decided, and I worked on myself, and I grew and I expanded, and I was conscious, and I became the investigator. So I was paying attention to the mind chatter, what I was saying, what I was thinking, how I was feeling. I could even get to a point where I was having a conversation with somebody and I was starting to go into my old story of victimhood, and I could stop myself because I was aware that I was actually being in the old identity. in the ego space where, again, that comfort zone is. Yes, choice with all caps. The power of it. We underestimate it. Common comfort zone is playing the victim. Hell yes. And I was there. I was there because I saw it with my mother and even my father, but my mother was my main contact and we were good friends for a long time until I started to grow and expand and I started to see that. So when you're in victimhood, everything happens to you. And the shift is everything happens for you. So what's the lesson that you need to learn? What do you need to heal? What do you need to process? What do you need in order for you to get past that? So it no longer affects you, no longer has control and power over you. So again, the mind chatter is an opportunity to heal these things. Don't negate it. Don't try to quiet it because it's telling you something. And we need to pay attention because, honest to God, if you don't pay attention to the mind chatter, you're going to be stuck for a long time because it's going to be on a loop. And you're going to keep believing it and locking it into that subconscious level, locking it into the physical, energetic, and cellular bodies, which is not helpful for you or anybody else. I hope this makes sense. Am I being clear? So there's a couple things we can do to help us. One is what I suggested with just getting curious. Be the investigator. Ask yourself questions. And challenge yourself. So I have this thought. There was this thought I had. This is how beautiful the universe works. And it did not work in my favor. So I had this thought. I wonder if I could be happy and broke. Universe went, let's find out. And so what happened? I had clients cancel. I had no bookings coming through. I felt like this huge wall right in front of me that nobody could see me, feel me, hear me, nothing. And I remember saying that to Elton at the time. I feel like I have this block. And then I realized the thought that I had a couple months ago. Well, of course, that was happening for me because I was seeing that that one thought could have that much power and it can change things. Then why not make it a positive, better feeling thought? Why not? Try it. And if you need reminders, put sticky notes all over. I did that for a while. So we attract what we're thinking because it's all energy. It's all frequency. It all has the attraction factor. And we've got to work with the universal laws. It doesn't work any other way, at least in my world. So then we want to practice mindfulness. We've talked about this before. Just pay attention. I call it investigator or getting curious and just seeing, oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder how that thought. There was this woman and she was a guest of ours. And I have never had anybody trigger me so much in my entire life. Not even, well, trigger in an awareness, let me put it that way, because my ex used to trigger me a lot. So I couldn't put my finger on why this woman was in my world and what was I being taught or what did I need to learn or what did I need to heal. And a friend of mine who we've had these conversations all the time, she said, well, aren't you working on feeling good enough? And I went, yes. So the universe put this woman in my sphere because all she did was complain and made me feel like the apartment that we were renting to her was not good enough, and that the island wasn't good enough, and that my rules weren't good enough, and all this kind of stuff. Like, she complained all the time, but she made it personal. She tried. She even refused to have a massage by me. Her husband bought her a massage. So as soon as she said that, though, it was like, yeah, of course. Of course that's what it is. And it was gone like that. Her things that irritated me did not bother me whatsoever. So we want to be mindful. We want to pay attention. We want to pay attention to what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're doing. There was this woman, she was a coach as well, and she sent out an email, I believe, and she had been on stage and she was doing a talk, and the talk went really well, although her negative mind chatter told her she didn't do well, and the perfectionist in her criticized her, and she came home and she was raging and she was throwing things around and she was just cussing her own self out. And she goes upstairs into the bedroom and she's throwing her purse around and she's continuously doing that. And her husband came up and he said, "No one talks to my wife like that, including you." So we can be really hard on ourselves. We need to give ourselves compassion. It's going to take a minute. This is a lifetime habit. So however old you are, this is taking you that long to get there. And this might be a new awareness. So it's going to take at least, for the victimhood, I would say it took me a year. But it went pretty quickly once I was in the awareness of it. It's just becoming so consciously aware and living by design, paying attention, getting mindful of everything. Okay? So the other thing we want to do is, if we're in that downward spiral and we want to stop it, we can color, we can count, we can recite, we can run. We want to distract ourselves from the mind chatter. Especially if we're in anxiety, overwhelm, or heightened stress, this is really good because it's going to refocus you away from what's not working. And usually my experience from the hundreds of people that I've been talking to recently with anxiety, overwhelm, and stress is that they future project a lot and overthink. How many of you go through that? I did. Say one in the comments if you did. So we want to work with the brain, not against it. We want to work with it. We can work with it. And again, we're not taught these things because a lot of us just think that it's the way it is, it's how it's supposed to be, and it's never going to change, because also the medical system tells you just got to live with it. Take some medication, you'll be fine. And that's not true most of the time. A lot of people that I've been talking to have started meds, they did help for a little while, and then it stopped. Or they've got so many side effects and symptoms from the actual medication that they've stopped using it because they just can't do it anymore. So we want to work with our minds. And I get that this is simplistic stuff. And I get that it shouldn't be that easy to help ourselves. And I'm here to tell you it is. If we do these things consistently and it's over time, that's when things start to shift and change, and all of a sudden everything that you're experiencing has also shifted and changed. Accept yourself. Accept where you are. Accept where you are. You are where you are. Okay, so now what? Now what? We don't have to stay there. We don't have to stay in the struggle. We don't have to stay in the overwhelm and the stress. And we don't have to stay in the chaos. We are so used to it. And again, it's the comfort zone, remember. And then we make it mean something. Oh my gosh, I had this anxiety attack and I'm going crazy, or something's wrong with me and this is never going to get better. And oh my gosh, then we're adding emotion to it. And what does emotion do? Amplify it. And because you say it over and over again, it becomes real. It's a belief now, locked in the subconscious mind. And remember, our beliefs are not true most of the time. Unless they're positive. And if they're positive, then those beliefs are, yes, they're definitely true. So if you are future projecting and you have a tendency to go into the negative what if, and then those negative what ifs create some anxiety and maybe even put you into a panic attack. And then the thought is, oh no, here we go again. I can't take this. I hate this. I hate when I have these thoughts. And we go into beating ourselves up. Helpful? No. Take a deep breath and readjust what you're paying attention to and focusing on. Have compassion with yourself. And remind yourself, we want to soothe the ego. So remind yourself that everything's going to be okay. It's just a moment. I'm having a bad moment. I'm having a bad day. Most of the days that we have aren't bad. Most of it is a couple of key moments in our day that are bad. And then we declare the whole day bad. We're silly humans. But we've got to work with our minds. We've got to work with what we have. And we can overcome these things. So get outside of yourself. Also, maybe you want to volunteer somewhere so that you're focused on other people and not worried about yourself and allowing the monkey mind to go. And diffuse what you're saying. So remind yourself. Another coach I was working with, she said this great phrase. She said, I see you. Hi, Pauline. I hear you. I acknowledge you. And I release you to our egos and to that mind chatter. Let it go. It's not serving us to keep it. It's not serving us to hold on to it. It's not serving us to beat ourselves up. So we want to be a little more compassionate with ourselves. And know that it's a moment in time. It's not always going to be the case. Now, having said that, I have been talking to some people who have had it for 20 plus years. That is just craziness to me. We're so willing to suffer and struggle. Why? It's in our control. We can heal ourselves. And if you need help, I'm here for you. It's what I do. So if you're ready to move forward, then reach out to me so we can heal this at the root cause, not at the superficial level, at the root cause, so that it doesn't have control and power over you anymore. It's going to cost you time, energy, and money. And I'm willing to work with you and have payment plans if that's something that you're ready for. I had one woman who was so much in her head and she was feeling powerless in her job, and she'd been working with a counselor for a year. And she worked with me for 6 weeks, and what we did in 6 weeks outweighed and outlasted what she was doing in the year, because we were getting to the root of things. And she paid me over 6 months. She was that willing to invest in herself. And I'm willing to work with you. Hi, Melanie. How are you, lovely? So, pay attention. Write out for the next little while. I'd say a week at least. If you're noticing repetitive thoughts, write them out. What are they? And if you want to come into the group and say, listen, this is what the thought is, please don't DM me, because my DMs are getting filled up, and that's a private situation where my paying clients are reaching out to me. So I have no problem coaching you. I'm going to set the boundary. Do it in the group, please. Okay? So then you can say, and you can even do it anonymously. So nobody has to know except for me, and I'll coach you through it. So you say, okay, this is the mind chatter that I'm hearing. This is the experience that I'm having, because I know people don't want to be too detailed or specific, because maybe people will know and they're not going to know. So be as specific as you can, because you got to give me some context, because saying that you're struggling with this, can I help you? Well, sure I can, but I need to know what you're going through in some context. Okay? Lizzie's saying, yes, excellent energy healing is far more powerful than excellent psychotherapy. Agreed. Agreed. And again, I'm not down putting psychotherapists or psychiatrists or counselors. If that is what you need, get it. Help yourself. There's resources out there, free and paid, and free and smaller payments, longer payments, bigger payments. It depends on how quickly you want these things gone. And I know people who've been in therapy for years, if not decades. Decades. I don't want you to suffer for decades. It's not necessary. Not necessary at all. I had this woman client, Barbara. She's actually in the group, and she also did a video. And she was struggling with depression, anxiety, and she was heightened stress, like big time, because her husband had died the year before. There was a bunch of other people who had died through COVID, and she was just really struggling. And so she was going through her experience. We spoke because she had the know, like, and trust with me because of being in the group, and we started to work together. And within 2 sessions, she was off her antidepressants, and she was feeling better, not 100%, because we really were starting to really dig at the root cause, which was from her childhood. And so if you want to listen to that interview, it's half an hour long. You can fast forward it at some points if you want to. And I believe if you go under Barbara Briscoe, Briscoe, in the queue at the top right corner in the group, that video will be pulled up. If you want the link to that, you can let me know, and I will find it and tag you in the video. But she went from depressed, not wanting to get up in the morning. The only reason why she did was because she had dogs and she didn't want them to die. And so then she hated getting up, because that meant she was having to do what? She just felt like she had nothing to live for or do. And so by the time we finished working together, her adopted son welcomed her back. and she was more alive and lively, and she's sassy and she's fun, and she was laughing and big smiles and just having the time of her life, looking forward to getting up in the morning because she was doing crafts. She was joining groups so that she could do some cooking, and she still continues to really thrive. And she met a man in her 74th year. So it's not too late for you. It's not. You are not too old. You are not too young. You're not. Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, it'll never happen for me." I said, "Well, if you say that, then it must be true, because that's what you believe." I don't believe that, but I can't convince you otherwise if that's what your conviction is, because I know the truth. And the truth is we all can heal. That's part of our journey, is to heal all the stuff from childhood. Lincoln, I would love to watch the video for sure. Yes, I can tag you, Lincoln, for sure. Lizzie said she's had 1,000 sessions of excellent psychotherapy in her 20s and early 30s. So you speak from experience. And how many sessions from the energy healing to get you advanced and feeling better? And Joe's saying, "I'm ready, Tina, I'm ready." Yay. Joe, I will DM you and we can have a conversation. So Lizzie, tell us, how many sessions of energy healing did you have? If you're still here. So ladies, I thank you. And there was a gentleman that came here as well. A couple hundred. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to take that. The woman that I worked with for the depression was, I think it was less than 19 sessions. And the 19 was because she wanted to feel safe in her body, and she wasn't really ready to kind of be done. So she wanted to hang around for another, I think it was like at least 4 sessions, 5 sessions, so that she can really be sure that it was anchored in. Pauline saying, "Her mind chatter I feel in the body. I usually don't get the thoughts in my mind." So then use the body. What is the feeling? So you have a feeling, then you have a physical reaction. So what is the physical reaction tied to? There's got to be a thought, Pauline. And probably from your experience, it's been probably, I would imagine, that you block some of the mind chatter out just so you can manage your day. So Lincoln said her mom just got out of horrible on and off toxic relationship with an absolute monster, and she really needs energy work. Pay the first payment if we can start a payment plan for her. Yes. You can definitely DM me on that, Lincoln. I'm sorry to hear that. It's awful. And there's an opportunity for her to heal now, so she can attract good things into her life now. She has been degraded by him for around 8 years, and now he's a narcissist. Yep. For the relationship's another one. Yep. Childhood issues. Aren't they lovely? We keep going through it, but we keep going through it because we haven't healed it. So if you're tired of the cycle of repeated patterns that are just making you feel like crap, and that life is not good, and it's a living hell on earth, it can be heaven on earth. I can tell you, I've been through it. I was in a narcissistic marriage for 27 years. Makes me sad to say that, because I put up with a lot of crap. But I call his way of doing things, it was a slow burn. It wasn't as aggressive until things got really bad. So, lovely ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, for listening. Apply this stuff. Words are just words unless you put them to action. So take what I have to say. If you have to make some notes, then you can, oh yeah, Lincoln, good thing I got it. Good thing. Yes, I would not have this smile on my face if I was still in it, that's for sure. If I'd be still here even. Yeah, you're very welcome, Joe. So know that things can shift. Know that things can change. Know that it's just meant for you. Meant for you. Meant for you to heal. Meant for you to see that you've healed. Because my family was away for 20 months and I'm trying to figure out why the heck they came back. And I realized that it's because I get to practice and know that I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I can set my boundaries, I am in my personal power, I can communicate better, and I don't have to react and respond to him. So, always a lesson to learn. Thanks, Fernando, for joining us. I'm sorry, we're just finishing. Have a blessed day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.